He was thrown into the most brutal prison in Thailand, a white man with no friends, no translator, and no idea what was about to happen. He was stripped, mocked, and beaten in front of a crowd. But no one knew that the battered-looking foreigner was actually a world boxing champion. The film opens with a fighter named Billy competing in underground boxing matches in Thailand. Although he was a talented fighter, he never achieved the status he deserved. Living among those who once fought alongside him, he gradually fell into drug addiction. To feed his habit, he eventually turned to drug dealing. Because of all this, he was arrested by the police. They found drugs and a gun on him, which led to a long prison sentence. Before being transferred to the prison, he was screened and briefed on the rules along with the other inmates. Any violation would be met with extremely harsh punishment. Life inside was a completely different world. No one did anything for anyone unless there was something in it for them. Everyone was selfish. One day, while Billy was getting water, he got caught up in a fight with a gang. Even though he wasn't at fault, when the guards showed up, the other inmates pinned all the blame on him. Billy was thrown into a cell so cramped it was hard to even sit down. After 3 days of punishment in there, he was moved to another cell. Everyone knew that this cell was full of big-time criminals, all part of a gang led by a man named Kang. They asked Billy what he was in for. Billy replied that he was arrested for dealing drugs. Hearing that, the whole group laughed and started mocking him. It was already nighttime, and everyone had gone to sleep. Around midnight, when Billy stepped outside to use the bathroom, he stumbled upon members of the gang torturing a new inmate. The scene terrified him. He wanted to help, to save the boy. But they held a knife to him and threatened if he dared tell anyone, he'd suffer the same fate. Billy, terrified, quietly returned to his bed. He had begun to fear them deeply. He tried to block everything out and fall asleep. The next morning, when he woke up, he discovered that the inmate who had been tortured the night before was dead. Seeing that, Billy felt like his head was about to explode. He knew he could have saved that boy. He had so much strength, but he had lost his courage. Out of fear and anxiety, he let the boy die. The shock sent a sharp pain through his head. When he went to ask the guard for some medicine, the guard told him that if he wanted anything, he had to pay or offer a cigarette. Everything here was illegal. Seeing this, he snapped and started fighting everyone around him. Blinded by rage, he lost control and didn't even know what he was doing. After attacking a guard, he went as far as biting him in the throat. Other guards rushed in, restrained him, and beat him so brutally he nearly died. Then they threw him into another cell, battered and broken. In this cell, he met a transgender woman named Fame. Fame helped Billy by applying ointment to his wounds. Even so, Billy didn't talk much to her. At that point, the police had tied Billy's hands and feet with ropes to prevent him from fighting. His routine life began once again. If you think this movie is good and engaging, please comment with the number 0. If not, comment with the number 1. Today, when Billy went to the cafeteria, he saw Fame. He asked her for help and requested 2 packs of cigarettes, since everyone needed cigarettes to get anything done in there. Billy promised to pay her back soon, but Fame was still hesitant and didn't want to give them to him. But then, feeling sorry for him, Fame lent Billy 2 packs of cigarettes. With those cigarettes, Billy approached a drug dealer in the prison. He got some cocaine from him, used it, and passed out. That night, 3 inmates were murdered. Everyone in the prison woke up and started searching for the killer. When they came to Billy, they found him drunk. They also found drugs in his shirt, even though the others were the ones who'd been killed. So, poor Billy got caught up in the murder case. Luckily, the police discovered that the drugs didn't belong to Billy. He only used cocaine. The other drugs belonged to the man behind it all, who had set him up to escape. Finally, the police uncovered the truth and arrested the man. The next day, a guard offered to supply drugs to Billy, and Billy quickly started using them. When the guard asked Billy to pay for the drugs, he couldn't afford it. After that, the guard began forcing him to kill someone to pay off the debt. Billy reluctantly obeyed the guard's orders. The guard wanted him to kill the Muslim cooks working in the prison. Billy beat them nearly to death. Seeing this, the guard was very pleased and rewarded Billy with another pack of drugs. This time, Billy refused to accept the pack of drugs because he deeply regretted beating two innocent people under the influence of his addiction. His remorse overwhelmed him to the point that he tried to take his own life. In the middle of the night, he used a razor blade to cut the veins in his wrist. However, before he could die, those around him found him and saved his life. The police also realized that Billy was under tremendous mental pressure. To ease his stress, Billy's chains were removed from his hands and feet. He noticed some inmates training in boxing inside the prison. As a boxer himself, he hoped to join their practice. However, when he approached, the coach threatened him and kicked him out, saying he needed money or cigarettes to train. Billy tried to explain that he was a skilled boxer and could perform well. Still, the coach didn't accept Billy's explanation. To be able to train, Billy turned to Fame and asked to borrow some cigarettes one last time. He promised to join the boxing training and to pay back all the money he earned from the matches. Trusting Billy, Fame agreed to lend him the cigarettes. Billy brought a cigarette to the coach to ask for training. He was given a punching bag to practice on, and after a long time, he poured all his frustrations into it. When he finally showed his skills, Billy performed so well that everyone present was impressed. His moves were completely different and stood out from the rest. Billy began training here every day. The coach was very pleased with his progress and regularly worked hard to help Billy prepare for upcoming fights. One day, when he returned to his cell after training, he saw all the inmates taking part in a fishing contest. He knew this game very well and started playing along with everyone, winning a lot of cigarettes from the matches. With those cigarettes, he became popular among the group of people who had lent him cigarettes and supported him in boxing. He used the cigarettes to pay off his debts, and from there began building a relationship with them. He asked Fame why she was in prison. Fame explained that she had killed her father because he had tortured her for being transgender. Fame was also deeply hurt by her father's death. As she cried, Billy shared that he had no one left but his father, though this time, his father didn't even know he was in prison. After hearing Billy's story, Fame felt a deep empathy, and the two gradually grew closer. Billy spent most of his time in the ring, where the coach worked intensively to train him for the upcoming competition. Finally, the day of the fight arrived, attracting the participation of all the inmates, along with a large crowd of prisoners and many high-ranking police officers coming to watch. The fight began with a powerful punch from his opponent, who quickly gained the upper hand and controlled Billy like a puppet. One of Billy's ears was torn, and his swollen eye severely limited his vision. Despite his serious injuries and the challenges he faced, Billy remained resilient, refusing to give up and fighting all the way to the end. Even the opponent started to tire. Sensing the opportunity, Billy landed a precise punch to the face and knocked him out, winning the match. Seeing him win, all the officers and inmates applauded, genuinely happy for him. The prison guards were also deeply impressed by Billy's fighting skills. Billy received good care with tasty food and professional training to prepare for the competition. He felt much happier in the new environment, where the inmates weren't major criminals but only guilty of minor offenses like him. Billy quickly made friends with everyone there, and they all showed their bond by tattooing a tiger on his back. According to them, the tiger tattoo would give Billy extra strength to win the fight. Billy trained hard day and night with great determination. However, one day while showering, he suddenly realized that Kang's gang, the group he had lived with in the previous cell, had surrounded him from all sides. The gang members beat him viciously because Billy hadn't given them any money. Billy begged them not to kill him, promising to win the tournament and pay back the money. Kang spared him for the moment, but then threatened him by showing a syringe filled with the blood of an AIDS patient, a warning that if Billy didn't win the tournament, they would inject him and end his life. Billy was very frustrated by everything that had happened that day. He went back to his cell to find Fame and calm himself down, but found Fame busy with other inmates. This made him even angrier because he saw Fame as a true friend. The argument between them quickly escalated until other inmates had to step in and drag Billy out of the cell. Billy was completely devastated and used various drugs to manage his mood. Although the drugs helped him relax, he began to experience internal bleeding and vomited blood. He immediately went to see a doctor who explained that the excessive drug use had weakened his internal organs. On top of that, due to overtraining, he also developed a hernia. The doctor told him to stop exercising and using drugs completely, warning that if he continued either one, he would be responsible for his own death. Despite facing one challenge after another, Billy was determined to win the tournament at any cost. It was the only hope keeping him alive in this prison. Even though the doctor objected, he stubbornly pushed himself to train hard. Finally, the day of the match arrived, and all the inmates, including Billy, were transferred to another prison to participate in the tournament. Many prisoners and high-ranking police officers gathered to watch the fight. However, a serious incident occurred that caused Billy to start experiencing intense pain so severe that he felt he could no longer continue competing. Despite the intense pain, Billy held back and stepped into the ring to fight. Before the match began, following the Thai tradition, both fighters performed a prayer ritual together. Right from the first round, Billy showed impressive form, launching continuous attacks that gradually wore down his opponent. However, as the fight went on, Billy's health noticeably deteriorated. During the fight, as his opponent kept landing punches to his stomach, Billy's condition worsened significantly. The opponent quickly noticed his weakness and focused attacks on his abdomen to wear him down. Billy collapsed to the mat in pain, and his performance visibly declined, leaving no one believing he could do anything in the final round. In the decisive round, his opponent maintained overwhelming control. Finally, summoning all his strength, Billy landed an elbow strike to his opponent's throat, knocking him out cold on the spot. Thanks to that, Billy won the tournament. Everyone around cheered and applauded him, while the prison guard was also very pleased and proud of Billy's victory. He stood there praising Billy, but Billy's health was deteriorating rapidly. He vomited blood and passed out right then and there. Seeing the critical condition, an ambulance was called and quickly rushed him to the hospital. Treatment began immediately. For several days, Billy was unconscious, but after a few days, he woke up and realized he was in the hospital, with his health significantly improved compared to before. When the nurse saw him wake up, she helped him to the bathroom. After leaving there and returning to his room, Billy noticed that no guards were watching. He quietly left the hospital, and after several months, he was walking the familiar streets. A feeling of freedom washed over him as he had traveled far from the place that once held him captive. Finally, he was free. But deep down, he wondered if it was truly freedom. The thought of having to evade the police for the rest of his life made him reluctant to accept that freedom. Feeling this way, he decided to return to the hospital. After several weeks of treatment and once his health improved, the police took him back to prison. When he returned, Billy received another big surprise. His father had flown in from England to see him. His father's arrival filled Billy with joy and hope, as if he had found his whole world again. They exchanged genuine smiles, creating a deeply emotional moment that also served as the story's conclusion. In the final scene, the audience learns that the film is based on the true story of Billy Moore. At this point, the man believed to be Billy Moore's father is actually Billy himself, who spent 3 years in a Thai prison. The remainder of his sentence was later pardoned by a Thai general. In 2010, Billy Moore was finally released. Afterwards, a novel about his life was published, and this film was adapted from that work. Since then, Billy Moore has dedicated his life to helping people struggling with drug addiction overcome their challenges. The film ends with this meaningful revelation. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, where every film carries a powerful message and every character has their own story worth hearing.